Welcome to this live afternoon break session where we discuss about the situation of students, their graduation challenges and acquiring a workplace. My name is Nina Pirtikangas and I'll be your host for this event. Those of you who are watching this on live, you can send questions through the YouTube chat and we'll do our best to answer them. First, the researcher of Union of Professional Engineers in Finland, Elina Ahti, will give us insight about the salaries. Then we'll sit down with the lawyer, Maria Jauhiainen, and soon-to-be graduated Wilma Ikäheimonen. This session will be maximum of 45 minutes long. Welcome. Go ahead, Elina.
Thank you. I will be sharing with you some results from our student survey, which we conducted in September last year, especially about salaries and seeking jobs. It's an annual survey that we do every year in the beginning of the academic year, and the focus group are students studying technology in universities of applied sciences. We are sharing the link to the questionnaire through Tudo mobile app, but also in the union's newsletters. So keep an eye out for them next September. There are several themes in the survey: working, summer jobs, well-being and studies. And last time we had over 3,000 respondents, which was a good result. 17% of the respondents are from other nationalities than Finnish. Most of them came from Asian countries and half of them are studying information technology. And we could see from the results that the international students have more difficulties finding employment during the academic year, but also when they are looking for summer jobs compared to the Finnish students. And they were less often employed in jobs that were in their own field of study and more often in jobs that were unrelated to their studies, which of course is a problem because then they won't be getting the necessary job experience to advance their studies and build their career. Overall, the international students estimated their well-being to be slightly better than Finnish students did, but the international students were more concerned about their financial situation and uncertainty about finding a job in their field after they graduate. And then let's go to summer jobs. It's always a difficult task finding a summer job, and we have asked our respondents for several years how they would estimate finding the job. Was it easier this year compared to the last year? And here we have results from 2007 forward, and the latest results are on the right. And we can see that this last year 31% estimated that it had been significantly more difficult to find a summer job than in previous year. And only 8% estimated that it had been significantly easier. So the situation has gotten more difficult. The overall economic situation in technology and IT sector and construction is clearly affecting available summer jobs. We are of course hoping that the next results will be better. And here we can see what kind of tasks those summer jobs include. Sadly, the most typical type of summer job was something other than in field of technology. 27% of all the respondents were employed in these kinds of summer jobs, And if we look at the international students, the proportion was even bigger. Half of them were not able to find jobs in the field of technology. And these, of course, could be good jobs with good pay, but since they aren't in the technology field, then they won't provide important job experience and learning opportunities. Other common jobs were work supervision jobs in construction, installation jobs, laboratory work, and it's worth noting that only 1% of the respondents were able to complete their thesis as a paid summer job. And then let's look at the salaries. The median salary for summer jobs last summer was 2,400 euros per month. And median means that if we arrange all the salaries in order from smallest to largest, then median is the one in the middle. So half of the students earned more than this and half of them earned less. Salaries are a little bit higher in the Helsinki metropolitan area. 2,500 euros per month was the median here. And elsewhere in Finland, the salary levels are a little bit lower. Median was 2,386 euros per month. Salaries, of course, are affected by study credits. Here we can see that in the beginning of the studies, when the respondents had earned less than 60 credits, the median was 2,360 euros. But in the final stages of their studies, when they had 200 credits or more, it was already 2,520 euros. And the salary levels are different in different kinds of jobs. And here we can see that the highest salary level was in work supervision jobs. There the median was 2,638 euros. The jobs in IT sector and consulting engineering were not far behind. Median was 2,500 euros. And the lowest salaries were typically found in basic tasks in technology, for example, construction work, where median was 2,200, and also in positions that were not in the field of technology, for example, restaurant work or working in shops or something like that. The median was 2,249 euros. And then a few words about salary requests when you are applying for jobs. It's important to really carefully think about your request, because if it's unrealistic, it can easily eliminate you from the process, even if you are a good candidate. And of course, if they ask for a salary request, then it should be included in the application. It's always good to present a certain number. Please don't put a range of salary requests, because then the employer might be tempted to set your salary to the lower end of the range. So one specific number, and it's good to leave some room for negotiation. Aim for a realistic level. One that you can justify based on the demands of the job and based on your own skills and experience. The request shouldn't be too high, but it's also important that it isn't too low. This could send bad signals to the employer. It might imply that you haven't completely understood how demanding the job is. And also it might imply that you aren't yourself very confident in your skills or your capabilities for this job. And also, if the starting salary for students or graduates is very low, it's really difficult to raise your salary later. So it might lead to a situation where your salary is sort of permanently lagging behind the salary level in those jobs. And if it seems difficult to set the request yourself, you can find more information and help on our member pages. There are salary statistics. It's always good to ask your colleagues or other acquaintances who work in technology or if they work in a specific company. And as a union member, one of your member benefits is union's personal salary counseling, and you can reach us through customer service. And this material, of course, we'll be posting it on our webpage later, so that will be available for you also. Thank you very much. Are there any questions at this point?
Thank you. No, we will continue this with Maria and Vilma. Yeah, can you introduce yourselves?
Who's going to go first? I'm going to go first. Hello, my name is Maria Jauhenen, and I work as a lawyer here at the Union of Professional Engineers, and I have been working here for a longer time than I care to mention, but a long time, and nevertheless. And I have been taking cases to court, and that's what I do still. And then I work with lobbying on a Finnish level and European level, and then I'm involved in the customer service, in the legal counseling. So if you call us, so you might be talking to me in those cases. So a long time with the union and with the work.
Yeah, thank you. And Vilma?
Yeah, I'm Vilma Ikäheimonen. I'm a game design student from XAMK, the Southeastern University of Applied Sciences, and I'm currently on my 4th year, soon to be graduating, as it was stated before, and I was a union active and have been working with the Game Makers of Finland for now coming to 2 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, do you have any thoughts about Elina's presentation?
Who's going to go? Well, I can go first. Definitely issues that I also recognize, and what I can also say about, for example, that if you start with a low level of salary, it's really hard in Finland to get a merit pay rise during your work, unless you are swapping to a whole nother set of working tasks, which doesn't happen that much or that often. So it's good to have the salary set right when you start. And also what I've heard, that if you start with if you present a salary request that is too low or too high, you are very able to eliminate yourself from the process. So it's very, very important to be, vigilant with these issues. And also, one of the issues that we also come across is that you are not getting a job that is in your own field when you start working, and it can happen that all of your summer jobs are in another field or lesser demanding that the ones that you are studying for are. And then it's really hard when you graduate to try and get a job that is in your own field, because all your job experience is from something else, and then it's really hard to try and convince the future employer that I'm really good at what I do. So it would be very good, if not possible, to have sort of like a evolving job experience, that you start with a lesser demanding job and then you evolve. But of course, easier said than done.
Yeah, I have the similar experiences, especially talking a lot with my fellow students, and there's a lot of international students in our, especially in the game design department, and a lot of people don't even get summer jobs, especially in the field, game industry being especially narrow and niche field. But yeah, it had a really good insight about the general view of what the situation is. It is concerning, but yeah, there's a lot that can be improved, but there are some like nice silver linings there as well.
Yeah.
And one more thing that I would like to add is that you have to start early looking for the jobs, maybe even before Christmas.
Yeah.
So when I was young, you could start looking for a summer job in April, March or something, and you could get a job. But nowadays you have to start really early.
Yeah. There's also you can't really rely on job postings either.
Yes.
You have to kind of go out of your way to message companies and studios and places of work to make yourself known, because a lot of people are just not offering summer jobs like publicly. So you do have to do a lot of like work yourself to start looking for jobs, and that's we have always also been like taught that in school, that like you have to kind of put yourself out there, because you can't just look at the job boards and go by that.
And also one thing that I was reading in the newspapers this week is that young people don't want to use the phone or call people or call the companies, but usually the people hiring are older people and they like to talk with the job seekers. So I think if you're not so comfortable with phoning, that would be a good, a skill to develop. Because even if you are very, outgoing and you present yourself well, so I think it would be very worthwhile calling the companies, even cold calling. Just picking up companies that you are interested in and then calling them and saying that you would like to get a job. And one more thing, which we're going to go more into detail, is that when you secure the job, then you have to sign the job agreement. And have all the starting dates, everything. So only after that it's secured. If you don't do that, then it's very possible that you will lose the job.
Yeah, totally. And about the phone calls, you should always pick up also the phone when it's ring, especially when you are applying for a job. That is something I have heard, that they have missed the call and then they are out. So it's most important also to answer the calls.
Because HR, they won't send you a Slack or a Snapchat or WhatsApp message or even a text message.
They take the next one.
So because they don't know you yet, so it's very, very big part of the whole process.
Yeah, good. And Maria, as a lawyer, do you encounter a lot of students in your own work, and are there certain themes that they ask about?
The one that I was already mentioned was that since many young people start looking for a job early on, they might get the job already maybe in February, early April or March, and then something happens with the company and you lose the job. And in some cases, the company call you, the bosses, and say like, we don't need you. But in this case, if they say we don't need you, it's not a valid reason. They actually have to use they have to have a real reason why they are not hiring you and why they are not following the employment contract. So after you sign it, also the company has to adhere to the employment agreement, and also the trial period doesn't start until you start working at the company. So they actually have to follow the real reasons for letting a people go and also the period of notice. Otherwise, it's illegal. So they have to follow the process. They just cannot call you and say, like, we don't need you. Because if they call you, let's say in April, and say that, you are in a pickle, because it's impossible to find another job at that time. So also they have to follow the right process. And also for younger people, you have to also follow the process. If you get a better job, you also have to follow the process. And not you either can resort to using the trial period, because also that starts with you only after you have started working for the firm. So these kind of processes. And in the autumn, in summer, we don't hear about the people so much, young students, but in the autumn it can be that something is unpaid with the salary slip, something is wrong with that. Some problems or misunderstandings with the collection of summer holiday or how the holiday compensation is paid. Some people call, can I have holiday while I'm working? No, you can't, because you have to collect first. And if you want to have holiday, usually you have to have it unpaid, or you have to, negotiate for that in advance. Like if you have somebody's wedding or something happening, confirmation party or something, so you have to think about those things in advance and negotiate for time off, either paid or unpaid. Sort of like you have to be ready to work for the whole summer and not to, leave the work.
Yeah, good points. Okay, then we continue to engineering studies. And at the moment, we have actually 20 schools that have engineer studies. Yeah.
So that you can become an engineer.
Yeah. It is quite many schools, and a lot of. Do you know how many students there are totally at the moment?
I have no idea. I'm so sorry.
Me neither. But even in our school, I can only obviously speak from my own experience in game design students, but all of them are like full classes. So there are like 30 students from part-time and full-time, both directions. And there's multiple levels of courses and people. So first years there will be the 230s or at least 60, and then that's just one school. So there is multiple thousands of students probably.
Yeah.
It is our 42,000 overall.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of saying 12,000.
Yeah, it's actually a bit over 11,000 per year that starts.
Oh my goodness. So maybe that was the number that I was remembering.
And these are old numbers. This year is a new year, so we don't know how this goes this year. But
there's also more and more people applying for especially speciality degrees, and a lot of people coming from overseas as well, because Finland is getting more recognition overseas. So it just brings the numbers up.
And the English lines are more common. They are coming now to almost all campuses, so it's really good that we get also.
Nina, can I add one more thing when we were talking about the English channels? And I think Vilma can also verify that even if you start studying in English language, it would be very good to also have some knowledge of the Finnish language, maybe have a language course within the university or outside it, have some Finnish friends, try and talk with them in Finnish language so that you have some knowledge, because it's very easy to be in the English line, talking with your, people with foreign background, English, and get involved in that community. Because when you seek for a job, it can be that the employer wants you to have some level of knowledge in Finnish, and if you don't get that while you're studying, it can be very, very hard.
Because it is for international English line students, at least for us, it is required to do at least 2 courses of Finnish. But then it is always recommended to get more. It's the same way as even though I do the English line, but as I'm a Finnish native, I have to do Swedish course because it's required by the law and government and all that. So they are required to have at least a few Finnish classes, but there are more that they do offer, which is very good, and it should be almost standardized that people would actually get all of the possible courses that they can get for free as well.
And if Finnish is too difficult, go with Swedish.
Yes.
That can also help you. Also official language of Finland, so So you can even try and get a Finnish citizenship through Swedish
And I know a lot of people do that.
because it's easier. It's more connected with the
English language,
and German and so forth.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to salaries. What are the salary recommendation for students at the moment?
I remember something. From I'm just thinking about Elina's presentation, but maybe that's not the one to go with. But what comes to my mind is, for senior salaried workers like engineers. I think you have to try and find something, like you have to look into it yourself and use, for example, our channel for getting counseling, for setting the right payment. But if you are going to be going to work with, let's say, with salaries or job, factory level work, then you have the collective agreements that always have a student salary in the collective agreement. So that's kind of easy to check.
Yeah,
but for us, a little bit trickier. Or needs more work.
Yeah, and how then gain the right salary level? How do you go to negotiations to talk about the right level?
I think what Elina was showing us is the only way to go about it, especially if you're looking for a job in your field, in engineering field or game design field.
Yeah.
So what would be good would be to talk with people who are working in the company. But as we all know, Finnish people are not very keen on talking about their salaries compared to Americans, for example. So we don't talk about the salaries. So you might not get any answers. But if you get in contact with the shop steward at the workplace, so maybe that person, if you have any connections, would be able to help you figure out. But then we have the salary statistics based on a lot of research for many years. Also, region specific, brand specific. So I think that's what you need to go for when you find the right salary.
I'll also add that it's obviously a lot of it does fall on the job seeker in a way to be able to stand up for yourself and negotiate a better price. But I do think that these kind of research and surveys and putting this kind of information public should also kind of wake some companies up, because they are the ones inherently who decide what they're going to pay. They have the budgets that they're going to make. So the biggest change is happening in the companies. And to get that kind of information and the transparentness of the salaries in the open, it will benefit everybody. Because there is a lot of internships that are still unpaid, which is very difficult, because you will have to almost get another job if you're not living with your parents on that, because all very low paying internships and summer jobs as well, even in the fields. You know, so it's very imperative to get the information out there to the companies who are actually in charge of making the salaries.
And one more thing is that to remember that if you don't get a salary, then you are not regarded as a worker, and then you are not covered by the laws for the workers that are to protect the worker. And
but could it be other compensation than
it can be other compensation. We have heard about, for example, somebody was paid in luncheon vouchers. Not a lot. So in my estimate, a luncheon voucher, even at the maximum, 13 euros 70 cents per day is not enough. So it can be something else, but usually it's the monetary compensation, and that's what you need to go for. And to remember that if you're lacking the salary, then you are not covered by Employment Contracts Act that governs the employment contract, gives you rights mainly, the Holiday Act, the Working Hours Act, what have you. The company, though, they have to follow the occupational health and safety regulations at the workplace, even if you're not paid any salary, but that's not a lot.
Yeah. But is it coming to the law that the salaries will be open in one day?
There was a really good law proposal in the autumn of 22 that was toppled. We didn't get it. It was taken down by the Finnish Centre Party. So that was really bad. And we're not going to get that back. Then we're going to get something from European Union, the Salary Openness Act.
Yep.
But even that is watered down to some extent, so not even that is going to help us a lot.
Okay.
But efforts are made, especially to curb the differences between the sexes, the salaries, the gender pay gap, and also a form of discrimination with international workers. Because a friend of mine, her husband from United States, a brave guy, started talks around the coffee table about salaries, and they found out that many of the people doing the same work had €1,000 pay gap with the work that they were all doing. So that was a race of blatant discrimination.
Yeah.
Otherwise, totally undiscovered, but because they started talking, it came into the open.
Yeah. And there is always going to be this difference between the capital area
Yes.
and versus other places in Finland.
The rest of Finland.
Yeah. That is like, it's just like the rent level in the capital area, and everything else in the capital area is so much more expensive. The cost of living, it has to be that way, that you get more pay in the capital area, but then a lot of fringe cities and other cities are starting to kind of heighten the prices of living as well. So salaries are always kind of lagging behind, and all the prices are getting up and all that. But it's good to know people and have people who are actually trying to make a difference and trying to get people talking, and like the friend's husband as well, even on that kind of level, having people talking freely about it, it's important.
And one thing that I think is hindering people from talking about salaries is that you are afraid of the green-eyed monster, that people will get envious of your salary, that it's higher, or that your salary will be, made less if it comes out that somebody else is paid less than you. But that is impossible. Yeah. Your salary cannot be, cut down without very, very significant reasons.
And I can tell about myself that because I'm textile and clothing engineer and lady, my salary has been very low all the time, all my career, and I have been actually ashamed to talk about it. So
that's the one thing.
But it's also good to remember that your salary is not your shame. It should be a shame of the company paying you little.
Yes, I think that's a very, very good point to raise, that it's not your shame. It's the same of the company.
Yeah.
Okay, we must go forward, and then we will move to working life. Then we will go to internships and graduation matters. How to gain this possibility to get the internship and get the thesis done to be able to graduate. What is the situation at the moment?
Well, again, can only say for our school and my personal experiences, but especially in the game design line, there is so little internships around, which there obviously should be more. But our school also makes opportunities. Like we have our own game studio that they give summer internships to people, or like they actually do the whole interview process, and people get the experience within school. Same with the teachers also knowing that it's very hard to get anything, so people can form student groups and they can do the game production on their own, and they can get those validated as like practical training points, like credits as well. Same with like theses. A lot of people work with a range of different kinds of things. If it's like even a little bit kinda in the industry, it's confirmed that it's like it's okay, you can do this. They are giving a good amount of flax, but still keeping within the industry frames, and it has helped a lot, especially international students, because there's not a lot of internships for those people as well, and it's also heightened the point of like just contacting studios and indie studios, like smaller companies and smaller groups, and just to get yourself out there. But I'm super glad that our school has created as well those like opportunities when there is not a lot.
And what I was thinking, and maybe for other students, that if you have an interesting company in your mind, and then you come up with some idea to maybe enhance the production or add something to their procedures, so you can go there and suggest something you could, for example, make a little research into or look into, or make a suggestions about how to improve the production or something. So that's usually something that they that they are hooked on. Or that it's something you can sell yourself as, if you think that you have something to keep for the company and you present a case, then it's easier to get the place also paid. I've from like experience and from hearing other students, the thesis, like production-based thesis, like in companies, that kind of offering is much easier to get than internships, and you have to kind of more slither your way in with the internships, because the thesis, you are actually providing something, and you are like doing a lot more work in a way, for the companies. But I think the thesis is a good way to get into something, and even us, we can do the thesis first and then the internship, because you might be able to get the internship in the same place you're doing the thesis as well.
Oh, really good. What do you think about the situation? Does it differ in different areas in Finland?
I think, Vilma, you might have something to say about that, since you have both experience here in the metropolitan area and also in the East.
So it depends a lot of the field. Obviously, technology field and engineering fields are more specialized. So they're those kind of places, big cities, and that have like the technology hubs basically, are the ones where you are finding more like opportunities than like smaller cities and stuff like that. And even within the technology fields, in like smaller specific areas, it depends very much on the city. There is more opportunities in the metropolitan area, obviously, like the Helsinki, Espoo area, than, for example, like more east or more north. But then when you go to like Kajaani and Oulu and that, there's then again more opportunities. There is like a big gap, and they're like very concentrated. But there is opportunities, but a lot of people are also like students are open to just moving for the work as well, and it's at this point it's better to just put a wide net than looking within your city. Same with looking overseas as well.
and also, like, if you go for a summer job that we're not talking about, many people leave, for example, Oulu ja Kajaani, to work somewhere else. So there are flats, for example, available quite for a cheap price during the summertime. So also get a like, I used to study in Lapland, and I would always do my summer job here in Helsinki. So I always advertised for a room or for a flat in Hoa's buildings, and I would always get a really nice place for a really little sum of money. So that is always a valid option to use.
Yeah, and when you're a student, it's quite often it's quite easy to move in summer times because you don't have yet family that you should think about also, stuff like that. Do you think the situation is nowadays different than before? Is it harder nowadays?
Also based on what Elina was saying, that sort of reflects my ideas and thoughts on the matter, that it's harder nowadays, especially for international students. And because of the financial situation. So looking at the statistics Elina was showing, it was quite obvious that during the hay time, the good time in economics, it was always easier, and when it's lower, it's very difficult or more difficult to get a summer job. But always worth trying, and of course that's what you have to do. So that is what we encourage you to
I'll
do.
reflect the same opinions about that as well. Like, entry-level jobs are very hard to get right now, especially because many industries have gotten a lot of negotiations and layoffs and that. So there's a lot of not just entry-level people, but like mid-management and senior people looking for work. And obviously a lot of companies do prefer having people with experience. So this particular time, it's very hard for breaking into any industry. Obviously it depends on industry, like some other industries might have it a bit easier than more niche technology based IT industries, but that's kind of, I do reflect the same thing. But I hope that it will start shifting again when people realize that we do need more people coming into any industry.
Yeah, totally. And last summer, I know from Elina's last year's
Statistics.
Those, it was quite hard, actually hardest for IT to get summer jobs. It was even greater than in rakennusala.
In the construction.
So it was a surprise for me, and I'm waiting what is the difficultest field this year. But let's see. Hopefully there are a lot of matters. Oh, we are going really fast, and our time is. Sorry. This has been.
But I think we covered a lot of topics while talking.
Yeah, let's go then to unemployment matters, because that's also something we should be able to talk, and it has been like new matters that we should think about this year. So what are the new requirements for there?
So definitely, and since we running behind the schedule at the time a little bit, so just to be concise, so as a student you can earn the working requirement or the work requirement that is needed by the unemployment fund for you to be able to get the earnings related unemployment benefits. So last year you needed only 6 months of it in the beginning of last year, but now you need 12 months of job to fulfill the job requirement, and you can fulfill that while you're working and also while you're studying with the stints that you're doing within the when you're doing summer jobs. So you can collect it with your summer jobs. But of course, it was easier to collect the 6 months, but now you need the 12 months. But it's no better time to start than now. And in that case, you need to be a member of the unemployment fund. So being only member within us, trade union doesn't help. You have to be a member of the unemployment fund too, and then start collecting the work for that. And you won't get it if you are paid very little money, but you will get it if, I think the limit is something like 1,800 euros at the moment for month. So you don't need to get that much salary during that time. And then when you graduate, it's easier for you to try and find the real job because earnings related daily benefits is, of course, related to your earnings. And the other option is the labor market support, which is only about 800 euros per month. So it's not a lot.
Yeah. We have had a question also in chat. And what's the lowest salary for a civil engineer? And Milla has giving the answer there in the line. Do you want to talk about it, Elina, briefly?
Yes, there are no minimum wages in the law in Finland set in the law, but some collective agreements do have salary charts, and it depends on what kind of work you do. If you are a senior salaried employee, then most likely the collective agreement doesn't have salary charts, and you're quite free to negotiate your own salary. But for example, in public sector, the agreements often do have salary charts, where the salaries are listed according to the demands of the job and then the individual performance or expertise. So can't really answer the question, but look into the collective agreement if there is one with your job.
Thank you. And in the chat, you can find a link to Insinööriliitto's salary related pages like statistics and salary counter. Yeah, and I think we are over time.
Yeah.
At the moment, we have many questions still here, but this time maybe we stop here and continue next time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maria and
Thank
Vilma.
you.
Thank you.
And
It was nice
Elina.
being here. Thank you.
Thank you.